pandemic revealed weakness in global supply chains and networks, leaving companies cut off from their partners, scrambling for answers, and needing to build new, trustworthy relationships. As a result, there's been an increasing focus on blockchain, distributed ledger, distributed database, tokenization, and a variety of other technologies. In federal, many agencies are exploring and prototyping with these technologies today. However, the ability to bring necessary parties together can be challenging. And many federal executives are still trying to understand the potential value of these technologies. In Trend 5, From Me to We break down the emergence of these multi-party systems. At their core, new technologies are enabling the use of data as a shared, trusted resource. And as we discovered, this has profound implications for the sectors as diverse as healthcare, supply chain, and finance. Joining us today to dig deeper is Marty Hebler, our technology lead serving the U.S. Armed Forces. Marty, thanks for joining me. Marty, can you expand a bit on how multi-party systems work?
A simplified way to think of multi-party systems is to imagine a strongly encrypted, verified, shared Google document in which data can be added but never changed, in which each entry depends on a logical relationship to all the preceding entries and is agreed upon by everyone who has access to it.
I love that example, Marty. It makes it very tangible for everyone, the concept of the Google Doc. You know, one thing that we've talked about is some of the complexity and trying to figure out when it's right to use these types of technologies, or when can traditional technologies, whether that be for identity, or that just be for basic data sharing, they're sufficient. And so I think, helping to educate folks on not only what these technologies can do, but how they can be used relative to the existing technology, I think is an important part of getting it right. So when we do get it right, what are the benefits that are there to be had?
The trust and collaboration that are inherently part of multi-party systems bring some unique benefits of both spreading the burden of managing and providing the data, as well as creating a single trusted source of truth. Another architectural benefit is the distribution by definition removes single points of failure.
Can you expand a bit on how COVID-19 and the overarching pandemic really impacted this trend?
I think that COVID really drove some unique circumstances in which organizations were forced to recognize that they couldn't navigate alone. This led to dynamic relationships as well as a need to define how they would trust in a virtual world. One place that this was really driven out was in supply chain. We saw rapid growth in using multi-party systems to enable supply chain visibility and integrity across multiple parties. Using the IT of multi-party systems, organizations were able to build trusted relationships while the world was largely operating virtually.
So, Marty, we've talked about this ever closer relationship between business and technology. What do they each need to get right to make multi-party systems work?
I think one key is the ecosystem mentality that brings together business and technology strategies, which will ultimately help enable the multi-party systems. As we think about other key elements, another one would be setting the standards across both the business and technology that enable interoperability. And that also brings along the governance to provide the basis to support and govern the integrations that are needed. In defense, what we've seen is this has become a critical underpinning to enable JADC2.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. The JADC2 is a great example. And I think the standards and governance is a terrific point, because I really believe that at the end of the day, that's the hard part. The technology has matured quite a bit in the last number of years. It's really getting those other pieces right, the less technical pieces that we often see as challenges. So thank you, Marty. Incredibly valuable insight on this very exciting trend.